What's up, ladies and gentlemen? On ITC you can find pretty much everything from computer building, DSLR stuff, to jailbreaking, to Cydia, to Android, to everything. And so for my little Christmas video type of thing, since everyone's building PCs right as they get all their Christmas presents, their new motherboards and all that, I decided to go ahead and make, or at least post a video that I made quite a while back during the summer. And in this video I showed you guys how to go ahead and build your own computer. Unfortunately, I kind of accidentally deleted a lot of the shots, and I had to recover a lot of them. So it took a while to actually go ahead and make this. This was going to be posted maybe in the summer, and then it was going to be posted during Thanksgiving, but that never ended up happening. So sorry about that. Regardless, I just want to point out that I'm not the world's best cinematographer. The shots will look decent, but they're not going to be gorgeous, so bear with me here. Anyhow, I will go ahead and give you a step-by-step on how to do everything. So first of all, you guys are going to need all your parts, and the main part to building a PC is of course doing your research well, knowing what part matches with what, knowing that the case will fit the motherboard, knowing that the power supply will fit inside of the case, so on and so forth. So of course the first thing that I mentioned is the power supply, and that's what you're going to go ahead and unbox and of course install. So of course simply place it such as I show right here, and then on the other side of the case, if your case looks similar to mine, this is an NZXT Phantom 410, go ahead and put in the screws. I'm not going to push your intelligence or anything. I'm pretty sure you guys know how to go ahead and put in a screw, otherwise you guys probably should not be taking on this awesome task. So of course go ahead and tighten this. There's going to be tiny things here and there, so please follow all the steps as closely as possible. So I'm going to let you guys know when you should tighten a screw well and when you should not. For the power supply, you should go ahead and tighten it as much as possible. Don't go ahead and make it extremely tight. That goes for any screw when building a computer. But for these, make it nice and snug so the power supply stays in place. As for the power supply that I currently have, this is a 650 watt Corsair TX series, and this is of course a professional series, I believe, and they have a bunch of series on their website. There's the gamer series, and the usual one that everyone seems to get is the Corsair CX series, I believe. Those are really good, and these are just a tad bit better. I got a nice offer on Newegg, so let's go ahead and take all these cords and push them into the back of the case. There should be a little flap or a little hole or something along those lines at the bottom back side of your case, and you want to go ahead and neatly push all these through. Since this is pretty crucial, you don't want to push them out all the way, but you want to keep it nice and tight so there's good airflow inside of your case. You don't want cables or anything sticking out inside of the case on this side. So next off, go ahead and install any fans. Believe it or not, this is actually pretty crucial, since you don't want to mess around with trying to install a fan after you've installed everything into your case. For example, the graphics card, the motherboard, all that good stuff. It would be a really big pain, so go ahead and do that right now. And I assume you guys know how to install fans. Once again, just like the power supply, go ahead and place it where you would like to place it, and of course put in the nice little screws. My build features about 6 or 7 fans. I loaded up on fans because my room gets extremely hot, and I simply wanted good airflow and not have to clean it every 2 days due to dust and all that good stuff. Next off, I want you guys to go ahead and install your hard drive. So depending on how your case is, you're going to install this one of 2 ways. So you either have to put your hard drive into the case and screw it in. You'll see about 2 or 3 screws on each side. Or if you have a cool case like mine, then you want to go ahead and bring out the little drawer sections, and then you want to go ahead and screw it into the drawer and simply place it back into the case itself. Most cases come with this feature, but some of them don't. Regardless, this is one of the simpler tasks of building a PC, so yeah, go ahead and take your power supply cable and of course and plug it in. This is of course your SATA cable, and this is of course what's going to be supplying all that good old power to your hard drive. Some people have it where they accidentally forget to plug this thing in, and then when they go ahead and try to turn on the computer, there's no post or Windows won't load or something along those lines. So do not forget this step. Also, don't be nice with these wires. Go ahead and push it in as hard as possible. There's some joke in there somewhere. Anyhow, now, some people run into problems when installing their motherboard and it won't post. I ran into a different type of problem. What I did was I actually cut myself on this cool little thing right here when I tried to install it. So I got a nice paper cut that stung a little bit more than a paper cut, let's put it that way. Don't cut yourself on this. Installing this is about as straightforward as it gets. Just push it into the slot correctly and it should be good to go. Next off, we have our SSD. Sorry if the quality is terrible on here. I tried to film this, but it just didn't work. But you guys get the point. Basically install this the same way you did to the hard drive and place it either on top or underneath the hard drive. Plug in your power supply cable, and we're going to leave that like that for now. Next off, of course, if you have this, is the CD drive. This, of course, can be a pain depending on what case you have, and it took me a little bit of time to figure out exactly why it wasn't going in the first time around, but I eventually did get it, and it's pretty easy. Just go ahead and screw it in from the right and left. If yours case is anything like mine, then you just put it in and it should just snap into place. Now, this is what it should look like so far, and this is where things get awesome. So, of course, we have our motherboard. I am using an Asus M5A99FX Pro. As to how I remembered that, I have no clue. So of course, go ahead and be very protective of these next steps, because you are dealing with the motherboard and static don't go well together. So do not ever place this on a carpet. Always place this on the box or the static plastic that came with this. When installing the processor, do not touch any of the pins. I know the golden pins are tempting, but don't touch them. Human oils and processors don't go well together. So of course, place it in. There's a little tiny arrow on the processor and on the motherboard that will guide you nicely. Then take the metal pole, if that's even a pole, and of course snap it into place. You should hear a little tiny crunch, but I don't even know if crunch is the right word, but that's just the pins snapping into place. Don't worry, you didn't damage anything. So of course, that's what it should look like, and if everything is all set, your computer should post very nicely. I suggest you don't install the RAM incorrectly, since it's almost impossible to do that. Basically, go ahead and line it up, take a nice little look at the golden pins, and of course, push it in the correct way. Put a nice hard amount of pressure onto here, because what some people do is they push it in, but they don't hear that click. You want to hear that awesome click, and if you don't, then you probably didn't install your RAM right. So of course, here is our awesome motherboard, and it is pretty much set to go and place into the case. So of course, I'm going to do one last thing that everyone needs to do, and this is of course installing your heatsink. Some people actually do this after they install the motherboard into the case. I suggest you don't do it. I sped through it. This took me the longest since I used this awesome heatsink right here, and trust me, it was a complete pain to install, but I eventually pulled it off. This cooler is pretty good. It's not top of the line, but it will keep your PC very, very cool. So of course, this is known as the Coolmaster 212 Evo. This is the one I used, and my temps are pretty awesome. They idle at about 28 to 30, which is pretty nice. Next off, this is going to be pretty tough. Go ahead and grab your entire motherboard by the cooler, and of course, go ahead and place it into your case and screw it in. Now, when it comes to the screws, do not use one of those magnetic screwdrivers. You never know what might go wrong and where the tip might touch, so be careful with that. Just use a normal screwdriver and screw it in nice and lightly. Applying too much pressure might cause your motherboard to, well, not work. We're not going to plug everything in, but the wires that come with your case, you want to go ahead and plug those in. There should be little words on the motherboard itself that guide you through that, and of course, look at the instruction manual if you don't, since all the motherboards are different and I can't really guide you through everything. Plug in your SATAs, and of course, finally, let's get to the graphics card. This is about as easy as it gets, and you're almost done with your build, so congratulations. So of course, go ahead and remove 2 of those and place your graphics card in. You shouldn't push too much, but you do want to hear that snap, and wait for it to be nice and snug. It should stand there on its own, but for how long? So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and place the 2 screws back in, and this time you want the graphics card to go and be nice and tight. So of course, tighten both screws. It doesn't really matter how much, since it's metal on metal. Finally, I want you guys to go ahead and plug in your 12-volt rails. So there are 4 of them depending on your graphics card. There should be at least 2, and plug them in until they are pushed in, and you'll hear a tiny little click. I want you guys to go ahead and make sure that everything is plugged in, and now remember to go ahead and plug in your hard drive SATA cables that connect your hard drive to the motherboard itself. Also do that for your SSD and of course your CD drive player. So there's my good old SSD, and I'm gonna go ahead and place it in. Never be too nice with these wires. I know some of you guys have all these brand new parts and are really careful, but sometimes careful is the biggest flaw. You want to go ahead and make sure that they are tight enough, but not extremely tight where you break them. And just like that, you are good to go. I'm going to be posting another video on how you install Windows and posting problems and all that other stuff. But for now, I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys the bare minimums on how to go ahead and build your computer itself. Once again, sorry if these shots don't look amazing or if I didn't explain something amazingly. I'm not Linus Tech Tips yet, but I'm trying, guys. So that's how you build your PC in basically under 10 minutes. Props to that. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. If you guys need help, check out all the other cool channels on YouTube, and there is one awesome thing that I'm going to leave a link to below, and that is the Reddit threads. If you have any problem, there's someone before you that has already asked the question. Thank you for watching. This is going to be me, locking off.